Hey friends, welcome to week 3. I'm so glad you're back. Today in this video we are going to talk about embellishing the melodies so you're not stuck just playing the straight up melody and make the melodies your own and not just play exactly what the singers are doing. I've been playing in bluegrass bands for about the last 18 years, and I would say for the first 12 or 13 of those years I was for some reason under the impression that playing the melody was boring, and what would make me a great soloist was coming up with all kinds of creative things to do instead of the melody, right? Which doesn't sound totally random, right? Because it's true, you might notice that if you just only play exactly the melody, you might find, okay, yeah, it works, but it's kind of boring. I don't feel like a cool soloist yet, right? I want to do some cool, interesting variations. Here's the thing, if you only do variations to the point where you're not even thinking about the melody at all, for one thing, it's really easy to get lost. And that was what I would do all the time for the first, I don't even know, like 6, 7, 8 years that I was in bands. I'd be on stage and I'd be playing something that sounded cool, and then I would follow a musical idea to wherever it led me, and suddenly I was playing notes that sounded horrible, right? They didn't sound horrible in the line that I was making up as I went along, but they sound horrible with the chords that the rest of the band was playing. So then I'd have to scramble to try and find my way back. So the next place that I went after that was really studying music theory, which was a great thing to do. It made me absolutely a better musician, and I would never tell anyone not to study music theory. But what I learned how to do was to constantly follow the chords of the progression that the rest of the band was playing, and to be inventing ideas based on the notes of the chords. Now that works. It works really well, and it's a great thing to learn how to do, but it's also relatively complicated compared to starting with the melody and making up some variations on the melody. Right? So it's easier to do melody-based improv, first of all. So the other thing that I learned from several years of only doing this chord theory-based improv is that I kept getting stuck in ruts where I would play pretty much the same thing anytime I had a 1, 4, 5 progression, or pretty much anytime I had 1 to 5 to 1 in the key of G, let's say. I had the same few licks that would just come out of my fingers, and they worked every time. The problem is that in bluegrass music, that chord progression in that key happens so many times in so many different songs that sometimes I would actually realize on stage that I had just played the exact same solo, note for note, on 2 consecutive songs, right? Maybe nobody in the audience would notice, they just heard a lot of notes coming out of the fiddle and it was fine, but I noticed and I was a little bit bored with it, right? And I'm sure that the connoisseurs in the audience noticed as well. So when I and I had people all along suggesting to me, why don't you just start with the melody? And I'd been saying, no, I'm cool, I'm improvising, I'm not doing the melody, right? The melody's not improvising. So, but then I went back and I started really carefully listening to what a lot of other fiddle players that I admired were doing. And I realized a lot of them were starting with the melody. And as I experimented with that, playing the melody with some variations, what I realized is it completely solved that problem of all my solos sounding the same, because I was playing the melody. So my solos were distinctive to each song that I was playing. To really get good at picking out melodies that you hear vocally and figuring them out on the fiddle, even that translation is already a skill that you have to practice, as you may be already noticing. There's a tendency that a lot of us can have to get to where we're about 80% good at that skill, and we just kind of file off the edges and play something that's kind of like the melody. When you're learning a genre of music like jazz or like bluegrass, where there's a bazillion standards that you're supposed to learn, and there are a lot of patterns that recur from song to song, it can be so easy to just be like, that was good enough. And it kind of was good enough, but when you learn to get really precise about, am I doing exactly what the melody is, that's again gonna help you not accidentally turn all of the melodies into the same thing, but to be really careful about which melody is which.